Good day, everyone. So now I will report about reference grading and criterion reference grading. So first, let us discuss what is norm reference grading. It is a grading system wherein a student's performance is evaluated relatively to the performance of the other student. In this system, the grades are determined based on the relative position of the students in a group. So reference grading compares a student's performance to how other students did. For example, if most students scored low, a slightly higher score might get a good grade. It's like ranking students instead of focusing on meeting specific standards. So for example, in Class A, the highest score in Class A is 85 out of 100 items. Then the standard score of the class is 85. In Class B, the highest score in class is 80 out of 100 items. Then the standard score of the class is 80. So for example, in Class A, uh, 85 score has 100% percentile rank, while in Class B, 80 score is the standard, so it has 100% percentile rank. So in Class A, the highest score is 85. So 85 sets the top standard for comparison in that class. So in Class B, the highest score is 80. So 80 becomes the top standard for that class. Because in norm reference grading, students are compared to each other within their class, not to a fixed standard. So even though 85 is higher than 80, students in Class B might still get high grades if their scores are close to 80 because it's the highest score in their group. So this is the how to rank in norm reference grading. The percentile rank, the standard 9, and the mean. Example, 10 students in different class with different scores section A and B. In Class A, there are 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 65, 75, 80, and 85 scores of 10 students. In Class B, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and 95 in 10 student score. So in student A, row score is 75. So the percentile score is 75%. While in student in Class B, row score is 85. So the percentile score is 75. Even though they have different score, but they have the same percentile rank. So this is the formula of percentile rank. Percentile rank of X is equal to number values below divided by the number or the elements times 100. So in Class A, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 65, 75, 80, and 85. So percentile rank of 75 equals 7 because as you can see, below the 75 there are 7 elements, like for example 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 65, and 75. So there are 7 divided by 10 because it has 10 scores times 100, so it equals to 75%. So in Class B, there are 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and 95. So percentile rank of 85 is equal to 7 divided by 10 times 100 is equal to 75%. So as you can see, in Class A, the score is 75, while in Class B, the score is 85. But then they have the same percentile rank because their score is defined by the group of students. So another is how to get the mean. So to get the mean, you will add all the elements and divided by of how number elements. For example, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 65, 75, 80, and 85. So you will add all the elements and divided by of how many elements it is. Like for example, there are 10, like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there are 10 scores. So you will add all the elements and divided by 2. So this, it has 56 answer. So the mean of class A is 56. Another in class B. So you will add all the elements and divided by 10. So the answer is 72.5. This is an example of Stanine diagram. So as in class A, the mean score is 56. So the row score is 75. So you can see below there are row scores. So you will find that 75, and the mean is 56. So as you can see, 75 score has a passing rate. So now let us discuss the advantages of norm reference grading. So it is easy to use. So the teacher simply compares students' scores within the group. Second is, it is useful if the focus is the individual achievement of the students, because it highlights how each student performs relative to others. The teachers easily identifies learning criteria, the percentage of students who receive highest grade or lowest grade. So, the teacher can easily see what percentage of students perform at the highest or lowest levels. So, fourth is they are generally appropriate in large courses. Best works well when there's a larger pool of students to compare. So now, let us proceed to the disadvantages of norm reference grading. So it promotes competition among the students rather than cooperation. Students focus on outperforming others rather than helping or working together. Not all students can pass the given subject or scores. Success depends on being better than others, not just meeting a standard. Third is the performance of the student is not only determined by his achievement, but also the achievement of the other students. A student's grade depends on how others perform, not just their own effort or knowledge. So now, let us proceed to criterion reference grading. Based on specific criteria or standard measure, there is a fixed target and the students must achieve that target in order to obtain a passing grade in a course regardless of how the other students in the class perform. So, criterion reference grading, students are graded based on whether they meet a specific fixed standard or goal. Unlike norm reference grading, it doesn't matter how others perform, what matters is whether a student achieved the target. For example, if 75 is the passing grade, every student who passes 75% or more passes regardless of how others in the class score. In case of 100 students using the table, no one might get a grade of excellent if no one scores 98 above or 85 above depending on the criterion used. There is no fixed percentage for students who are expected to get the various grades in the criterion reference grading. Like for example, if you score 1.0, you have excellent and 98 to 100% of grades. Grades may also reflect absolute performance scores compared to specified performance standard in such system. Grades does not depend on what group you are in, but only on your performance standard. So, students must meet a fixed standard to get an excellent grade. If no one meets the standard, no one gets the grade. So, grades are based solely on how students performs against a set standard, not on the performance of their peers. Grading complex tasks because grades must first is clearly define and justify the performance standard. So, teacher must set and communicate clear measurable performance standard. Next is based on criterion reference assessment. Standards must be well justified and fair, and must align with the criteria. Next is condition are hard to meet except in complete mastery. Meeting this condition is challenging, especially in tasks requiring mastery or perfection. So, let us discuss now the advantages of criterion reference grading. First is the performance of the standards. Students will not be affected by the performance of the whole class. So, it has independent performance. A student's grade is not influenced by how others perform. Each student is evaluated individually based on the set criteria. Second is the students are thus more likely to actively help each other learn. Since students are not competing with one another, they are more likely to help each other learn and succeed. All students may pass the subject or course when they meet the standards set by the teacher. All students can pass if they meet the teacher's set standard, making the system fair and focused on learning rather than ranking. So they have equal opportunity to pass. So now let us discuss the disadvantages of criterion reference grading. So all students may not pass a subject or course when they do not meet the standards set by the teacher or the institution. If student doesn't meet the set standard, they won't pass, which can be taught if the criteria are too high or unclear. Second is it is difficult to set a reasonable standard if it is not stated in the grading policies of the institution. If the institution grading policy don't clearly define performance standards, it's hard to establish fair and achievable criteria. Third is most experienced faculty set criteria based on their knowledge of how students usually perform. So, experienced faculty may set criteria based on their understanding of typical student performance, but this may not always reflect individual students' needs or abilities, and it may lead to inconsistent grading.
Okay, so for questions in grading. So this framework refers to critical considerations educators face when determining how to assess and report students' performance. These questions guide grading policies to ensure fairness, consistency, and alignment to educational goals. First is, should grades reflect achievement or achievement relative to others. So for absolute achievement, imagine a student mastering 85% of a math curriculum. Their grade would reflect that mastery regardless of how others perform. This approach focuses on personal learning and ensures fairness because students are judged against standards, not, not each other. So, absolute achievement is important because it fosters an environment where students can focus on their own growth without unnecessary competition. So, next is relative achievement. In a curved system, that same student's grade might depend on whether their 85% was among the top or bottom scores in the class. So, this is also important because this approach can motivate high performance competitive settings but may discourage students who feel outmatched by stronger peers. Second, should grades reflect achievement only or include non-academic factors? So this question explores whether grades should solely measure what students know or also consider aspects like attitude, effort, and behavior. So for achievement only, grades reflect academic learning like solving math problems or writing essays. For example, a student who aces a test but skips homework still earn a high grade. So why it is important? So it's subjective and focuses on what matters academically. However, it may overlook hard work and persistence. So next is including non-academic factors. So teachers might also reward effort, participation, or timeliness. For instance, a diligent student who struggles but tries hard might earn extra credit. So it is necessary because this recognizes qualities like determination and teamwork, which are essential for real life success. However, it can introduce bias and subjectivity. Third is, should grades report the status achieved or amount of growth? These questions ask whether grades should represent the student's final level of achievement or the progress they've made over time. So when the status achieved, a final grade reflects the student's mastery at the end of the term. For instance, if a student gets 90% on a final test, they've shown a strong understanding of the material. So this is necessary as it's clear and fair way to measure readiness for future challenges. So for growth, here a grade might highlight how much a student has improved. A student who starts the term with a 50% but works hard at the end and ends at 75% might receive recognition for their progress. It is important because it rewards effort and encourages students to keep striving even if they start behind. So last is, how can several grades and diverse skills combine into a single mark? This question deals with how to fairly combine scores from different areas like tests, projects, and participation into one final grade. For example, is weighting. Different components might have different importance. For example, test could count for 50%, project for 30%, and participation for 20%. This balances academic knowledge with other skills. So why it is important? So this is important as it allows teachers to value both core skills and holistic learning. Next is averaging. So combine all grades equally or with specific weights into a final score. It is important also because it simplifies reporting but might overlook specific strengths or weaknesses. So next is rubrics. This use detailed guidelines to break down grades into clear categories like knowledge, creativity, and teamwork. It is also necessary as it ensures transparency and fairness, especially for diverse skills. So these questions help educators design grading systems that reflect learning accurately, motivate students, and support their growth. By balancing fairness, transparency, and inclusivity, grades can become more than just numbers, but they can guide students toward lifelong success.